So, my name is Aarin Dreyer. I am currently getting a degree in animal science at University of Maryland, and I am interviewing Mr. Gary Coppage, who is a former Master Sergeant at Arms. Is that correct?
Master Sergeant for the United States Air Force, combat camera, retired.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Didn't want to mess up your title. All right. So, first question, what's an average day in this profession like?
There is no average day in the profession of photography, whether it's equestrian photography, combat camera, or what. It's my motto from the Air Force days is whatever it takes, and I do whatever it takes to get the photos that I need to complete the job that I'm doing. So, in one day it'll be photographing horses. The next day I could be photographing stuff for man. Um, the I'm a retired Air Force photojournalist, and anybody in photography can tell you whether you do horses. The thing I do now is horses. Uh, um, because that's my little a photojournalist too.
Mhm.
So I try to take pictures that tell the story of whoever or whatever I'm photographing.
Awesome. Was this a career choice that you've always wanted to do, or did it come around later in life?
No, photography. I've always wanted to do photography since I was 12. My dad gave me my first camera.
That's awesome. Um, in your opinion, do you think it's hard to get in a job in this field?
Yes, it is. Um, because photography, people have a cell phone now, and everybody thinks they're a professional photographer. Um, and the photography itself has become so mainstream on doing things that people like me that are professional photojournalists and stuff like that um, don't really get the respect that we need because everybody thinks it's such an easy job that it's not. It's really not an easy job.
Has it gotten harder since you first started doing photography compared to now?
No, compared to now, it's actually easier with digital. Now, digital photography has made it easier. Um, and it's also made clients more impatient because they think as soon as I take a picture, they can have it and go home with it. But um, I'm not having to be in a lab with my hands stuck in chemicals all day long, and I don't have to go um, process film and process prints and stuff like that. Um, I can just now download it into my computer. I don't have to have any of those nasty chemicals around.
Yeah.
So that makes it a whole lot easier.
Awesome. So then, I guess this is the hard question of is the expense of the equipment kind of balanced with your earnings, or is that's too ambiguous of a thing?
The expense of equipment is something that is inherent in any career. Um, like race car drivers, have to have an engine. Want the horse that'll put them in first place. That's usually expensive horses. Photographers have to have the expensive gear that allows them to take the photos. Uh, and yes, gear is expensive, but I also find you better photos are going to be, the better it will help you with your natural talent that you have to tell stories with your camera.
Awesome. Um, is there a level of education needed, or can you get into it without it, or is it kind of like a preferred thing? You'll get more work if you have a higher level.
That's not necessarily, you don't have to have an education to be a photographer. Um, it helps. I do have an education. I did not have a formal education when and I went into the Air Force. I knew as much as almost any photographer in the Air Force coming in right in. So they put me to direct duty to Special Operations Combat Camera Team in Florida, and from there on in, they sent me to schools as necessary to learn different skills. Um, However, when I got out and realized I wanted to make a business out of it, it helps, and I recommend that every photographer have at least a 2-year degree in marketing or business management. And because education you have in it, the better off you're going to be. But anybody out there in photography, if they want to make money at it, they need to also know marketing and the business end of it.
Yeah.
You know, bookkeeping and stuff like that.
It's not just go take some pretty pictures and that's it
Right,
kind
because you got to know how to sell those pictures, how to value those pictures, how to value yourself as a photographer, how to account for your time, how to account for your businesses, and how. Okay, well, I've just spent $6,000 on a camera. Oh, well, that's wonderful. I had that. I can spend that. But they don't think about, okay, well, what happens if that camera breaks? Do I have a backup camera? Do I need insurance on those cameras? Do I need insurance on myself? Do I need to cover um, whatever liabilities? Because if I trip over somebody's horse and hurt them, or somebody runs over me out in the field, um, a lot of people don't think about things like that, and they don't have insurance. Um, and they don't have the business. And yeah, you can take pretty pictures, but if you can't sell those photos and turn those photos into cash, you won't be a photographer for long.
of. Yeah. Um, what do you take the photos most of? Like people's personal horses or during races and like just Shaw's events? Do you have an average?
Right now, I specialize in eventing. And do you know what eventing is?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Eventing is like a triathlon for a horse and their owner. It's a three-phase competition that starts with their dressage test, which is a training test. It's basically like compulsory figures for figure skating. You've got a certain test pattern you have to ride, you certain movements in
I'm
the
actually a
ring.
figure skater, so I understand that.
And then that's followed up with a run on a cross-country course. It's long distance. Kitty cat. Okay. And so that's what I specialize in. And when I first got into it after I retired in 2006, um, I saw all of these people that had such egos as photographers. They were the only person, but they couldn't cover all three phases of eventing. So I took my military attitude for teamwork and created a team to go out and cover eventing, to have people out on the cross country course and somebody available to do a dressage test if they want, and somebody to cover everybody in their show jumping around. So I was the first photographer to go out there and get all three phases of an event. And people just loved it. And most other photographers at that time were so egotistical. It's just my photography. I'm going to do it. That's not the way I am. I train
Mhm.
people to work under me and work with me. And I've had several of my trainees their own career in photography. In fact, Lindsay Barrett is a photographer for the Chronicle of the Horse. And she started with me when she was in high school.
That's cool. Do you think that your military background has like really helped give you an advantage in this job field?
Being a photojournalist in the military was the best job in the world. I got to go everywhere and photograph everybody else doing their jobs. And then I got to go back to my hotel and sit down and say, thank God I don't have to do that. But it was definitely a huge help for me. It allowed me to be a very diverse photographer, to go out and learn how to do things because I'd never know from day to day. From at one point, I'd be aircraft. The missions changed all the time,
Mhm.
and that diversity there led me to do what I'm doing now, which is specifically eventing photography. In eventing, you photograph from the horse, but you can also do portraits as they're riding and stuff like that. Do exciting sports photos and do colorful, creative photos also, all at the same time that you're photographing at events. Yes, it was definitely um, helpful to my career as a photographer.
That's cool. What do you think the greatest challenge in this profession is?
The greatest challenge in this profession is to make a living at it. um, because people think camera, as I said before, if you don't have a business education or a marketing education to let you know how to market your photos and how to and who you're going to market your photos to, and to identify it, starting with um, your end product, who's it going to be for, what's it going to do, and are there any ways else you can make money with these photos? So, I mean, because what I like to do is take one photo and sell it to the person that I took of, sell it to a magazine, sell it to a calendar, and have at least 4 or 5 incomes from one photo.
Hmm.
And if you don't know the marketing and how to do the research and stuff to get those sales, and you can't promote yourself and your brand, then you'll never be able to make a living at it.
Do you think
First thing to do is the promotion, branding. You locked up again, sweetie. Do you think?
I think is that can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go. So do you think it's a lot harder to deal with the people than the actual like taking photos of the horses in this field?
Oh, taking the photos is the easy part. The hard part is knowing what to do with the photos after you take them.
Um, awesome. All right. So my last question I have for you then, what is it that you love the most about this career?
What is it that I love the most about this career is being able to have my photographs looked at and enjoyed for the artistic style that is shown in the photo, or for the impression that a person gets when they look at the photo, so they can see the story behind the photo just by looking at the photo. And by doing that, as a photojournalist, the thing that gives me the best thing is a paper with my caption under it, my name on it. And that photo stops some photo, and they that goes with the photo. My photo is telling a story, um, is the most is the best thing, I think.
Awesome. All right. So that's all the questions I had. Is there anything else that uh, you would like to input for like anyone looking to get into a career in this field?
If anybody wants to get a career in doing equestrian photography, they should know how to ride a horse. They should know which end of a horse to look at. So, and as much education as they can get. both in photography, in business management, in marketing, and subject matter, knowing about whatever subject matter you want to do. That is primary.
Awesome. All right then. I actually, as someone who comes from a not, I've never really worked with horses, so I've actually learned a lot. That was interesting.
Well, good.